Building a custom home, one of the most expensive and important parts is the foundation. I'm gonna go over the placement on the lot and the differentiations that could be problematic and a lot more costly with that. We're gonna go over the costs and how different topographies could have a lot of different costs. And also last, we're gonna go over and go see some of our sites to see some that are actually under construction to show how the construction matches the paper and how all of that meshes together. Following this process is definitely gonna make it so you can avoid having a huge bill and save thousands of dollars, because let's face it, foundations are kind of complicated, are kind of expensive, so you really gotta know the ins and outs of what's going on. Step number one is the slope of the lot. Now, some people already own their lot, so there's nothing they could do with the slope, but placing the house in the best spot on that particular lot is vital. For some people that haven't already bought a lot, differentiating the different types of slope, which is, mild to all the way to severe to a cliff, is pretty important. Okay, so this is a copy of a survey for a lot that we are about to start a foundation on to build a custom home. The circles over here are the trees. These lines are the topo lines. As it starts from 1292, 91, over here, it is a lot flatter than it is over here. When the lines are so close together, then it's incredibly steep. So from placing the house, if we place the house over here, it's gonna have a lot less fall versus put it here. If we put a house over here, it's gonna have a 10, 12 foot back patio, back slab is gonna be 10, 12 feet out of the ground. So this one, which we'll get into the site plan here shortly, is placed right here with the driveway that comes through, and we avoid knocking down some of these beautiful trees. So on this particular lot, these customers designed a fantastic plan. So this is the plan that we're gonna be placing on the lot. We're maneuvering it in between those trees, which we'll get to the site plan after this. But what's important is the amount of square footage of a foundation. This one has an air conditioning feet of 2570, your garage, covered back patio, covered front patio. So the total slab square footage that we need to calculate when we're estimating how much it's gonna cost on that particular lot is 3,418 square feet. This is the site plan, so it's a combination of the survey with the floor plan, so it shows where the floor plan is going to sit on our lot. As you can see, we placed it in between the 1286, it goes up to here 1288, 1289. So in comparison to putting it way back here, a much flatter spot. It's gonna have a great view from this back patio looking all the way down because it's sloping so many feet down. I think it's gonna be fantastic. When we go through the calculations, how we calculate it, there's no better place to put this house on the lot. On here, there's a 50 foot building setback line that it has to be at least 50 feet back. But if we put it there, we would have had to knock down all these beautiful trees. Next, we'll go through how the slab height is gonna play a part and how it coordinates to the cost for the slab overage. A normal slab, whenever you build it, say your form setters, your baggers, the steel tires, and the amount of concrete is based normally off of a 24-inch average. So when we take the corners of the slab, we need to calculate how tall they're gonna be. If we look at that first left-hand corner, that's gonna be a 1289 based on the topography. Our back left goes down 2 feet. If you look at where the topo line hits that, it's a 1287. Our back right goes down, and you see where that corner hits at the back corner of that slab, it's a 1286. And then our front right, again, is kind of like the back left, is gonna be a 1287. So when we start that, our corner one at 1289 is 1 foot out of the ground, because you can't pour a slab basically on the ground where it's flush. It's got to be sticking out by at least 1 foot, sometimes 18 or 24 inches. In this case, it's just going to be 1 foot. If we calculate from the 1289 to the back left, which is 1287, that's 2 feet difference, plus the 1 foot of slab that we have to start off with. To our front right, it's also a 1287, which is a difference of 2 plus the 1 foot going up. Then for the back right, which is gonna be the highest corner, it's 1289 to 1286, so 3 plus our 1, so corner 4 is gonna be 4 feet out of the ground. That's a total, if you total all up, of course, is gonna be 11 feet. That leaves us a 2.75 inch average. When we convert that to inches, it's 33 inches. After we take the 24 inch average out of the 33 inches, it leaves us a 9 inch overage. we multiply those 9 inches of the total overage times 39 cents. 39 cents times 9 inches is $3.51. When we refer back to our floor plan, the total slab area is going to be 3418 square feet of slab to build that particular house on that slab. The $3.51 times the 3418 square foot leaves an overage of $11,997.18. Knowing what your overage is over a 24-inch average, which is what most builders tend to charge more for, is crucially important. A lot of times if you don't know that ahead of time, you can't budget for it, and who wants to get a almost $12,000 bill for an overage that wasn't calculated ahead of time. Also, it's good to know that on the back of this house, our back left corner is 3 foot, our back right is 4 foot. Whenever we dig the septic tank and do some of the grading, we could backfill along that, so your back patio stepping down isn't gonna be a 5, 10. You pick a huge lot that has a big steep hill, or in this one, if we put this house over towards the back, who wants to have their back patio 10 feet off of the ground? I mean, it's cool if you got a great view, but most people, once we backfill that, it's not very many steps to go down from your patio and actually get to the backyard of this beautiful 1 acre lot to walk around and check it out and have the kids play and so on. The last step is taking a look at the actual foundation plan. And I think this is going to show and coordinate to why it costs more. If you look around the perimeter of this foundation plan, these are your exterior beams. These need to penetrate down into the earth, and they're normally a lot deeper than some of these interior beams. So if you think about it from the people that are constructing the slab, why it costs more, if you were going to go do a 24-inch average and set your forms, which is the wood that's bracing around it that holds the concrete in, if you have to form up, say 2 feet, or in this case 1 foot, 3 foot, 3 foot, that's more than a 24-inch average. This back corner is 5, which, believe it or not, in the hill country here in Texas, this is a relatively flat slab. A lot of times you got 6 foot and 8 foot corners. And obviously to go and add and form up 8 foot worth of slab versus 2 foot, there's going to be an increase in lumber and an increase in labor. These squares are the pads. This, in the San Antonio area, we bed that and bag it up with gravel. So obviously over a 24-inch average is a lot more gravel material you're going to buy, and also a lot more gravel labor for the labor that's going to be bagging this. Next is the post tension cables. So going through on top of these beams and pads is a grid of post tension cables that act as support with steel to hold the slab all together. If you go up higher, over a 24-inch average, we send this back to our engineer to re-engineer it specifically to this slab with a 1, 3, 3, and 4-inch corner. The engineer is going to go back and add more steel in some of these corners, like the bay window that's 3 foot out. This back corner is probably going to have a lot more steel added to it. Adding more steel adds more material, and adding more steel has more labor for the steel tires. Last, they'll come in and pour the foundation on top of it. The cost of concrete to pour through these beams at 1 foot is one cost, a 2 foot over here. Once it gets back to this back corner, you're pouring a huge beam that's 3 feet out of the ground, also 24 inches down into the ground. Another reason why it costs more is the amount of concrete to pour all of these exterior beams is a lot more than the 24-inch average, which is included in most builders' base price. So in summary, the goal of this is to understand the ins and outs of the foundation. First, we went through the tree and topo and the placement of the slab where it should be on the lot to preserve trees, do things efficiently, and avoid those huge expenses and huge costs by putting it in the wrong spot. Next, we went through the floor plan, how that square footage plays a part of what the cost is going to be. Third, we went through the site plan of how the floor plan lays out on the survey and how to estimate what those corners of each one of the slab are going to be. Next, we went through how those turn into cost. Each one of those 4 corners, in this case it was a 1, a 3, a 3, and a 4, and how those are calculated and correspond with the amount of square footage of the slab that they're buying, and how those costs get increased, and how you might, if not calculated or working with an expert, end up with a huge $12,000 bill unexpectedly at the end. Last, we went through the actual plan and see how those beams are so deep, add in the concrete, how the pads are so tall, add in the gravel, and how the filling those gaps and those voids and filling those beams with the concrete can result in truck after truck of additional concrete if put in the wrong spot. Working with an expert who knows the ins and outs of this, in my opinion, is vital in the whole equation. So that way, you could plan it properly, design it properly, and also know what it is so you could budget properly to have your house built the best way for a fantastic foundation at a price with no surprises. So feel free to reach out to us if you already own a lot or if you're actually in the process of looking at lots, so you could at least get a ballpark or actual calculation of what your plan would cost on your lot or the lots that you're looking at purchasing.